Welcome to JB's Go Get a Pie Show Story Time Part 2 of the Outback.
That's not a knife. This is a knife. Rightio. Here we go. Oh, God. Oh, rightio. Now up. Oh, that hurts. I got the snake. All right. So, how are we, people? So, you might have seen that I did do a video, right, of part 2, and I took it down because it was shit, right? So I'm redoing this one. So thank you for your patience and that. I've had a lot of people comment on where did it go and everything else like that. I made a short video saying I can do better, and I can. Now I've got cue cards, right? So Mary's going to count me in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. We're going to try to get it under 20 minutes, right? I don't think that's going to work though, but anyway.
I don't think so either.
So anyway, what's that you say?
I said I don't think so either.
No, but to the viewers, honey.
What?
What's that you say? And that? What? Oh, Batman.
Oh,
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah, Batman's here. And that. What was that again? How do I know it's Batman? I'll show you. Because I know it's Batman. With all this gendering and all this these days, it's difficult to know Batman from, you know, Wonder Woman and everything else like that. But I know this is Batman. Well, I'll show you. That's why. Batman has a willy. Batman and Knock Knock get along well because Knock Knock, as you know, has got no hands, right? So when he gets an itchy ear, Batman shoots up his cord, climbs up, right, and reaches in and cleans his ears, right? And you know,
They can't see with your arm there.
oh, sorry, and he cleans his ears,
That's it.
right? So Batman and Knock Knock get along quite well, don't you, eh? That's Knock Knock, right? All right, so where were we, right? No cocky? So where were we? We were at Kings Canyon, all right? So we're leaving Kings Canyon after I've fallen off the cliff there, right? And as you've already guessed, you know, this is just a book, it's a prop, right? My stories aren't written down, as you can see, right? They're all in here, right? So we're leaving Kings Canyon and we're on our way to Alice Springs now. Now, along the way, just to recap, right, we've turned right out of Port Augusta. We've come across, one of us has been, well, Greg was attacked by an emu, right? I've been attacked by a snake, right? We saw a skydiver get it all wrong and we had to help him. He had, you know, broken legs. We saw the Asian tourist with a stuffed up bike and helmet, right? Yeah, then Kings Canyon, I felt, my hemorrhoid, and then I've fallen off the cliff, right? So yeah, moving along, we're riding along, and as we're cruising along, you know, we come across this service station. It's called Jim's Place, right? And Jim actually originated from Blackburn, right? And the deal is there for motorcyclists, because he's a motorcyclist and that. If you ride in a motorbike, you know, and you get a fuel up, you also get a free cookie, right? Hence why I've got that up there, because, you know, free cookie with fuel. I'm thinking this isn't right. What's going on here? You know, we're blokes, not kids. Anyway, so it turned out he was not a bad bloke, right? And I don't know if you know Jim's Place or if you remember the Alan Moffat cannonball run that he had many years ago that was a fail, with the 2 Japanese tourists in the F40 that had a car accident, and they both died, and they also killed a marshal. All right. Anyway, he had all the photos there of the accident and stuff like that, and we see a photo of the Ferrari, and you know there's not much damage done to it, and he actually talks about that to us, and he says, "You want to know what actually killed those 2 Japanese tourists? Mind you, they're 2 dentists, right? That came out from Japan to compete in this cannonball run." And what actually killed them was when they hit the emergency vehicles sideways and killed the marshal in between, which was sad. They actually banged their heads together. And me being the funny bloke that I was, sort of, you know, I asked her, I said, how did they chip any teeth? You know, anyway, doesn't matter. So we were there, and he set the place up like a bit of a animal sanctuary type thing, right? So we're there having our cookie, and a drink and everything else like that, and then we decide to go out and have a look at his little bit of a nature reserve that he's got going on, and anyway, so Jeff goes, he's walking around, and he sees this huge fucking goanna, right? Now, I don't know if you people understand how certain animals, if they're in fear or a bit wary, some animals either run, and other animals actually will run up something like koala bears, possums. It's their way. It's their defence mechanism to get out. That's going up is safety to them, and Jeff being 6'2", right? He's pretty much the tallest thing out there in the middle of the Outback, right? And I'm going over and I've seen this thing, and this thing was a big fucking goanna, right? And me being David Attenborough, I know what it's going to do. And anyway, so if you can imagine this goanna, we've all seen them on documentaries, right? And so it's standing up and it's like this, tasting the air, and it's locked eyes with Jeff, right? And I knew he was in the shit, right, straight away, when this thing's gone. Because Jeff was flicking stuff at it. I don't know why you'd do something like that to a huge, reptile. And he's sort of flicking stuff like this, seeing to get a reaction. Well, the reaction he got wasn't what he expected. Because the thing immediately went from here, up in the air, body off the ground, to phoom. And I knew right then, it's about to take flight, right? And it did. And it went straight up him. It ran straight up him. Mind you, it's not in attack mode, it's in defence mode. So, I don't know if you know that goannas have claws on them, like talons on an eagle, right? Luckily, we weren't staying the night there, because if we were, we would have been in T-shirts, and Jeff would have been absolutely ripped to shreds. So, needless to say, exactly with what happened to me with the snake, we were all rolling around on the ground, laughing, as Jeff's rolling around on the ground with his fucking goanna. just trying to get the safety. So what you should do in situations like that, people, is if you are being, charged at by, a koala bear or a possum or things like that, is immediately you drop to the ground, right? I wouldn't suggest doing that though in Yellowstone National Park with a grizzly bear. Just take flight, just run. I don't give a stuff what they say, right? Just run. I'm not going to hang around to see what's going to happen, right?
Black bear.
Black bear, grizzly bear. This is coming from a person who was in Yellowstone National Park and walked up to a black bear cub, which is taller than Mary, right? And she was staying in a tent, right? There's no way you get me getting in a tent with bears around. I'll be in the cabin with the game reserves. They're in cabins, not tents. They're saying something, isn't it? Anyway, so we're moving along, and we finally get to Alice Springs. Now, this part of the story, some of you might take umbrage to it or anything like that, but I just want to make aware, right? We set out on adventures, I think most people do, with an open mind to how things are, right? So we've come from Melbourne, right? City boys, whatever, we've dabbled in the country, we're quite hands-on with things. But segregation, we've never been confronted with it, right? And when you get out to these small towns, out in the middle of Australia, and they're in all states and territories, right? Unfortunately, there are segregation points, and it is to the Indigenous people. Now, when we were in Port Augusta, there was a lot of Aboriginals, and we were told not to leave gear on our bike. And you don't really see the Aboriginals in a big number again until you get to Alice Springs. They're at the servos along the way hanging out, because that's where they buy their alcohol and stuff like that. But, I just want to point this out. I'm not a racist, and that this is just a story that really happened, and, we're not taking the piss out of anybody, whether you're black, white, yellow, Chinese, doesn't matter, right? I work like this. One thing that breaks all barriers is if you're a fucking dickhead, you're a fucking dickhead, whether you're black, white, Asian, doesn't matter, okay? But if you're a decent bloke or a decent person, I don't care what you are. Here we go, 10 minutes is up. Right, so moving along. So we get to Alice Springs and we pull in at the because we're staying at Backpackers. And anyway, so we get changed and everything, and we're walking along up the main street alongside the Todd River, right, heading towards the Todd Tavern. Now, on that side is where they've got a bar, but we'd never been there before. There's three parts to this bar. There's the bar that overlooks the Todd River, which isn't a river, it's just a sandbed. Right? Every now and again it floods. And then around the front, you've got like your public bar, right? And then in the mall area is like your nightclub band area, right? But we don't know this. We're coming up and we've just seen the word bar, right? Beautiful, no worries. So as we're walking along, right, John, right, who's got a lisp, right, he suddenly remembers this joke that I told him years ago. And I've got to reenact this joke, right? But mind you, we're just telling this joke amongst ourselves. And it goes like this. Do you know where they got the word boom from? I know it's a bad word, okay? All right, but just bear with me here, right? So the joke goes like this. Do you know how the word boom came across? And it goes on like this. There's a black fella, an Aboriginal gets on a dirt bike, right? And he gets on his dirt bike and he's kick-starting it. Nigga, 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 nigga. Nigga, nigga, nigga. Nig, ding, 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 ding. And he starts riding off. Nig, 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 riding around, right? Okay? And there's a policeman on a motorbike and he sees him. And he goes, oh, coon, coon. And the Aboriginal on the bike goes, oh, oh, nig, nig, coon, coon. And they're running towards a train track and there's a train coming. And the train's going, black fella, black fella, black fella, black fella, black fella, right? Nig, nig, coon, coon, black fella, black fella, black fella. And then all of a sudden, they smash into each other. Boom! So, he's saying this joke just as we're walking into this bar. And I'll paint the picture for you in this bar. Even though it's about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll just paint the picture on the lighting in this bar, okay? That's about how it was in the bar, right? So as we're walking in, right, we've walked in, John's saying the joke, and remember he's got a lisp, right? So we get to it's not an actual bar, it's a hole in the wall, right? Because what we'd walked into is where the blacks go. Now this is what I mean by segregation. Not our rule, we didn't know, nothing. We've just walked straight in. So 4 whiteys have walked in, John's telling this joke, and as we're halfway into the bar, that's when the punchline comes out with John, right? And he fucks it up, right? Because he's got a lisp, it comes out thung. Okay, it doesn't come out boom, it comes out thung. We're right in the middle of the bar now, right? I'm looking at the barmaid through this hole in the wall with grills on it, right? And he's gone, and thung, like this. Well, I've turned around and I've just gone, it's fucking boom! Where do you fuck it up all the time? It's fucking boom! And as soon as I've looked around, I've gone, oh shit, right? So, Jeff's over here, right? Sorry, John's there, I'm here, and I've just gone, turn the light on, right? Because I saw there's a light switch there, turn the light on, right? And that's when Jeff has said, right, yeah, then we'll see them, and they mightn't see us, right? You've got to be in this. It was just a funny situation, right? So, turn the light on, everything like that. Everyone stood up, right? We're thinking, right, okay, it's on, right? And you know in public bar situations, I'll just turn the light on. You've always got your heavies in there, or the ones that people sort of follow the most, right? And that take the lead off. And anyway, these two, everyone else has stood up, bar these 2 blokes, right? Mind you, there's about 20 blacks in there, Aboriginals in there, right? And these 2, they're still sitting down, and they're laughing. Right, the others are standing up, but no one's moving. We're like this. Right at that point, right, then Greg turns around quietly from behind and says, they can see us. It just, it was just fucking a comedy of errors, mate. Like, turn the light on. Jeff says, yeah, maybe we can see them. They can't see us because we, And then Greg goes, yeah, maybe they can see us, right? So they're laughing. These 2 blokes go, oh, fucking hell, you fucking whiteys. What the fuck? Where are you coming from? You know where you've walked into, right? Anyway, they actually knew the joke, right? And it was quite funny, actually. Well, at the end of it, we ended up spending 3 hours there with them, drinking, having a good time, you know. So we've accidentally gone in there telling the joke, right? And we didn't deliberately do it, because deliberately to be funny is you're planning it out, and that's not funny, you know. My stories are all off the cuff, right? They've happened, we've been doing something, not being racist or anything, and that's just what's happened. So that's moving along there. So that's what's happened in that bar, right? We've spent 3 hours with them, had a great time, right? So anyway, we've come out of the bar, we've left, right? So we spend the night at Alice Springs, right? And anyway, and with these guys and having a good old time and stuff. So we leave the next day, we're heading up, and we get to Tennant Creek, right? But along the way, we stop, because we haven't encountered any cows yet. We've seen the signs and stuff like that. We haven't encountered any cattle, right? And now Victorian cattle, when you encounter them things, they're not as big as what they are out there. They're huge up there, right? And they're not milkers at all. They're all beefers, and they just wander around. So anyway, we've stopped at this roadside to, you know, have a cup of tea, bite to eat, whatever, and, you know, have a wee. And at every roadside, there's these huge concrete water tanks, right? So the guys are over there under the little, you know, area, you know, seating area. So I've walked away, and I'm on the side of this water tank, right, huge concrete structure, and I'm standing there having a wee. And I actually thought the water tank had actually taken a step. That's how big this beast was. And it's looking at me, and it's massive, right? And it's just looking, and it wasn't too happy that I was there. The only thing that saved me was, they have them in herds, because they roam around out there. And one of the cows further back had actually got its leg stuck in between a fork in a tree. It got it out, but because it was moving, it distracted the bull, and he's turned around and he's looked back at me, and then he's just wandered off that way. Well, I've turned around to find that my mates aren't anymore at the seating area. They'd actually jumped on their bikes and pushed them out onto the side, onto the road, ready to go. So yeah, again with mates, situations where, you know, disaster's about to take, mates are no good in that situation. You know, and I don't know what would have happened if that bull hadn't heard that cow screaming. I reckon we'd still be running around the water tank. So anyway, we're moving along, we get up there, we get to Tennant Creek, you know, we stay the night there, and we decided to go for a walk. I'd advise for people, if you're travelling through, you know, the Northern Territory and stuff like that, towns in between the actual tourist areas don't really stop at. You know, Tennant Creek's not one of them towns that you stop at, but yeah, we did, and we decided to go for a walk. I don't know why. But anyway, we're walking around. Now, the laws up around certain areas in Australia is you're not allowed to buy alcohol for the Indigenous people. You know, it's against the law. If they don't buy their alcohol between the certain times that they're given, that's it. They don't get any. So obviously this group of 20 had missed out on that time slot. And we're walking around, and 20 of these Aboriginals have come straight up to us, and we're just like, what are we going to do? You know, so we're not going to run, so we're going to stand and fight. Anyway, before anything can happen, he's just gone, hey, and he's shoved a handful of cash in my hand, and he's gone, here, can you go get us 4 slabs of VB and 2 bottles of port? Right? Now, we're talking a wad of cash like this, right? And me, being me, and looking at this to what he wanted, I've turned around and said, what did you want? 4 slabs of VB and 2 bottles of port. Mind you, I'm probably holding about, I don't know, 4 grand here. I've turned around and gone, it's not enough. And my mates have just looked at me going, oh, no, like, you know. And, well, it's paid off. He actually pulled out another bundle and said, here, is that enough now? So I'm standing there with 2 bundles and going, yeah, no worries. So we go and get them what they want, you know, which was far less than what they gave, and that in value. And we had a better holiday. We've given them the alcohol, no worries. And yeah, we left very early that morning and taken off, just in case they'd sort of realised that they'd given us too much. So we took off. But we'd stopped at, you know, at the service stations along the way, yarning and stuff like that. And time's never a friend to anybody, and time was ticking still. And it turned out that we were actually going to have to do a night run to get to Mataranka. Right? Now, the bushland changes quite dramatically very quick, right? We saw the trees starting to pop up, but then when it went sunset, you see the sunset for about 2 seconds and then it's pitch black. Now, the roads up along the Northern Territory, they're red, and in some places, 20 minutes, right out. So, here we go. 20 minutes, so and they also have white stones in them. The reason why they're red is so the planes, when they're about to land, can see the road clearly, right, with the white paint on it. And also the white stones are there for when you're travelling at night, your headlight beam gets a further range, and also you get to see what's on the road. So for cattle or anything that might be wandering around on the road. Now, I mention this because we're doing a night run now, so we don't exactly know how far up towards Darwin we are. We've noticed the temperature change and the humidity and stuff like that. But so we're right in the middle of the night, and we have covered quite a distance. So as we're riding along, we're riding 3 abreast, right, to get as much light on the road as possible because it's pitch black out there, right? And anyway, so as we're riding along, we see something, because with the white stones, we see something across the road. So we slow down. We're not speeding anyway. We're not doing 100, we're only doing about 80, 90, you know. It's not worth it. So we stop, and we're a good, I don't know, say 4 to 5 metres away from what we think is a log on the road. And I'll just show you what this looked like on the road, right? Just so you understand. So I don't have a crocodile, so it's Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay, but you get the idea, right? So it's lying there. So how you're seeing it is how we're looking at it. Who is it? Like that. So it's like that, you know. Right. So it's like that. So we're walking up, and we're about 2 metres away from this thing, thinking that, you know, it's a log, right? It's dark. You know, we don't get a clear picture of this thing either. You got to understand this. And with crocodiles or anything like that, you know, they don't move. They whoop, stay still, right? Until they think they're in a threatening, they're going to be threatened, then they'll move. And I think what saved us was because it was night and the thing wasn't fully charged up for the UVs of the sun, you know? And what it's done is, as we've come up to it about 2 metres away, this thing's turned around and it's just gone like this, looked at us. Well, right then, we've realised what it was, okay? Right? And we have immediately turned into Sonic the fucking Hedgehog. We've turned and just fucking booted it. Now, when I say we booted it, we've run back past the bikes at a fair distance. And me being David Attenborough, and Jeff stuck with me, John and Greg went their own way. I don't know whether they actually didn't really care where they went, right? But with crocodiles, they can actually get up to about 50 kilometres an hour in a straight line, you know, running, right? So they tell you, and it is in fact, that when you're running away from, you know, lizards or anything like that, is to zigzag, right? Even hippos and stuff like that, anything like that, right? So I'm zigzagging, Jeff's following me, right? And we don't know where this thing is, if it's even chasing us, right? So it was quite a few minutes, and we're past. But mind you, we're looking at the back of our motorbikes now, and it's complete darkness in between us and the motorbikes. We've got no light, no torches, no nothing. So it took a rather long time, and nerves of steel, to go back into this area, because now we can't see anything, right? And obviously the thing had got more of a fright than us, and it had pissed off into where it went back into the bush and into a creek somewhere. So, you know, that's gone. We're a bit flustered. We realise, right, okay, we're a little bit further up than what we thought, right? We better start paying attention here. Right, so we pull in to this, into Mataranka, into this roadhouse, right? And we get into this roadhouse and we're asking for a room because it's about 8 o'clock at night, around there. And this place has no rooms, right? Anyway, as I said, these places are like the convenience store, the bar, the hangout place, everything else like this. And there's a guy in there and he's heard us ask for rooms. The bloke said there's no rooms. I didn't want to pinch a tent. None of us wanted to pinch a tent. We just wanted to have a shower and, you know, get into a bed or some sort. Anyway, this bloke, he owns a cattle station. And he also had something else on the property too. And so he says, oh, my workers have gone away. You can happily, you can come back and use the dongas if you want, you know. No charge, just come up, you know. I'll show you around a bit, you know. Oh, yeah, no worries. So his property was about half an hour up a dirt track from the this Mataranka roadhouse. So we're following on the bikes. Now, as we entered into his property, I see this pool, right? Quite big pool, you know, trimmed grass around it, fenced. The fence was about this big, you know, about that tall, you know. Had a diving board in there, everything else like that. And we haven't seen a pool, and we're like, oh, it's hot, you know. In my mind, I'm going for a swim. So he's told us where to go. Now, So the pool's there, right? We're here, and he said, "I'll meet you up here, right, on the balcony, under the veranda, have a couple of drinks and a yarn, whatever." So we've all gone, yeah, no worries. So anyway, I've stripped down, I've come out. They're all already up there, me mates, with the guy, right? And I've come around this way, right? So they're up there. So I've come around this way to the back where I saw the gate. So as I've opened up the gate, one of my mates going, "What are you doing?" All right? And I'm going, and I've already shut the gate behind me. And I'm going for a swim. And I've hit the board, and I've hit the first bounce, right? So there's a second bounce when you get to the end of the board, right? So the board's already bouncing. So I'm already, I can't stop now. I've just got to wait for the second bounce. But that's when I've decided I'm going to dive in. Right then, and we've all heard this on YouTube, is that saying, right then, he knew he fucked up, right? And because the owner has yelled out, "No, fucking no, like this." Oh, fuck. I knew immediately with that fucking sound, right? This isn't a fucking pool. I've got no idea, but whatever it is, I just shouldn't be in there. But it's too late. So I've gone for the second bounce to get as much bounce as I can to get to the edge of the other side of the pool, right? And I've done that. I've gone in with a bomb, right? And I know I went underwater, but I actually came that quick out of it that the water that I went into, right? Mind you, it's dark, so you can't. I didn't even see the colour of the water, right? And the water didn't even have a chance to even wet my hair. I literally came out of the same hole that I'd made in the water, back out, didn't have a chance to close over. And I've hit the edge of the pool, stumbled, and then smashed into the fence and fallen over, and I'm just running. I'm continuing to run. Well, the owner, he's jumped up, my mates have jumped up, and he's just fucking laughing his ass off, right? But as well as you could see his heart was racing too, you know? So I knew it was funny, but it was obviously very close to, by going by looking at him, death, right? And he's turned around, he's gone, "Oh, fucking hell." He said, "Mate," he said, "the only thing I reckon that saved you is I fed the bastard a whole pig 2 days ago." Yes, people, he had a fucking 15-foot saltwater fucking crocodile in there as a pet, right? The size of this thing when I saw it in the morning. And I said to him, I said, "But what about the fence?" He said, "Crocodiles don't jump." He said, "The fence is high enough. How's he going to get out of there?" And I said, "The gate," and he said, "Well, it opens inwards." He said, "So he can't get out, right?" So I just, the fucking diving board and everything like that. So that was funny in itself. So that was our experience to the Outback, right? There's a little bit more to it, along the way we met people, funny people and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I just want to say this. We got to Catherine, right? And we wanted to go and see, we went to, I forget the name, Waters, Daily Waters, right? And around there, and, we came across some true blood Aboriginals, and that's what they're called, around Arnhem Land. And later on, I did go back up there, and I spent 9 months on Arnhem Land, right? And this was given to me by Aboriginal leader, right? It's a handmade Aboriginal whacking stick, but obviously this is more artsy fartsy one. This is not actually what they use as a club, but it is. And I spent time with them, and we all had a ball. We learned a lot about the culture, and understood it better than what you actually understand in the city. So what I say to people is this: don't always believe what you hear in the city about certain things. Go out there, find out yourself, right? But with an open mind, all right? Like the public bar situation, we don't have segregation in the main cities, but out there they do for reasons being, and it is what it is, right? Now, so that's the end of the story there, right? About that. What I'd also like to just say is I've been doing, is talking about, how to help yourself when you're in a time of downness, or you're in a spot. And diet, I haven't gone over diet now. I did do bodybuilding, and that the trophy I won Mr. of IFBB, so I know a little bit about dieting and stuff like that, And fitness is very important, but unfortunately to get fit you need to have a good diet. Now, my first bout of not feeling right was after my competition, because when you diet to doing bodybuilding, you're shredding a lot of fat, right? And you have no control really where you shred your fat. Your fat just burns off. And after my competition, I didn't feel right. You know, my body was fine, but yeah, okay, 30 minutes, right? So it didn't feel right. Anyway, so I went to the doctor, and they put me on this electrode thing, and it puts an electrode through you, and what it does is it measures your internal body fat. So I ran your organs and stuff like that. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is if you're not healthy and you're not eating right, you can deplete those things, and you can really disrupt the internal of your body. So you might be putting fat on, but you're burning fat somewhere else, right? And what I'd done is the webbing that was around all my organs and stuff, right, were rubbing against each other. There was no... Thanks, Oscar. There was no, lubrication between the organs. And the doctor basically said, Justin, you've got to go and put on some healthy calories. So I say to people, whether you're on drugs, alcohol, whatever you may be, and stuff, even if you're on medication from the doctor, you've got to keep a balanced diet. And that I'm not going to tell you, in regards to the vegans and the vegetarians, I can't speak for them. I don't understand those people, right? And that we're born with teeth. We need creatine, which comes from red meat. There's certain things that our bodies need that's just not enough in vegetable plant diets. And people, as much as people say there's not. It's been proven, but I'm not a doctor, so I'm only talking off my own encounters, talking with other people and stuff like that. But in saying that, you do need to heat your fibre, and most definitely eat fibre out in the Outback, because you don't want to end up with a hemorrhoid. Things like that. So that's my thing there about the Outback. I hope you enjoyed that, right? Now I'm just going to ask Mary, because we're just still learning. It's pretty raw, this, okay? As you can tell, I don't do any editing, right? So I'm going to ask Mary to just hit some pause. Right? Right. So how's this, people? Mary's made me a pie, on that. And it happens to be my favourite pie. These are very rare pies these days, right? Because in the 80s, they were quite fashionable, right? And you'll understand in a minute. But a lot of women these days, they like the waxing. So it's very rare, this pie. And, when you get it, and it's got a bit of hair on it. So it's my favourite pie. I like a good hair pie. So as I say, like and subscribe, right? And go and get a pie.